It's July 26, 2025, and before I start the video, please subscribe to my channel. If you like the video, please click the like button and leave comments in the comments section. YouTube's new algorithm heavily depends on this, so the best way to support my channel is to do one of those things. I'm at Plaza Inn, and we are experiencing the Paint the Night dining package and getting the reserved area at the end of Main Street by the train station to view the first parade at 8 o'clock. So we're going to check out the meal and see how it tastes. All right, this is the Paint the Night lanyard that you get once you've paid for your food. One little commentary, this was complete chaos. We're here about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and this has just been a disaster. Tables aren't cleared. It is completely packed on the inside. It's basically a joke working our way through here right now. But we finally got sat down, and the lunch is $55 for adults and $28 for children 3 to 9. The children meal looked like it was chicken fingers, mac and cheese, and then a dessert and a sipper cup. For the adults, the primary food is a mushroom gravy glazed meatloaf. It also comes with a pea puree over creamy mashed potatoes. You got herb crispy carrots. You've got a Paint the Night themed dessert, which looks like chocolate cake, chocolate crumble, a chocolate ganache on top, and then a little bit of whipped cream and a white chocolate Mickey ear. In addition, you get a baby wedge salad. It looks like there's bacon crumbles, some pickled onions, some radishes, and it comes with a ranch dressing. If you have a mushroom allergy like my wife, you end up getting a fried chicken breast with mashed potatoes and their chicken gravy, which my wife actually likes. And the rest of it comes the same, plus each meal comes with a drink. One small correction on the wedge, it's actually blue cheese dressing, and there is blue cheese crumbles in it, which I guess I should have noticed when I initially said this. The salad itself is ordinary. It's not bad. It's not great. The one thing that bothered me is I did find a heart of lettuce, which I'm not supposed to find in my salad, but there was one in there. Oh, where is it? There we go. Yeah. So that wasn't so happy. But rather than that, like I said, it's a decent salad. The dressing is actually kind of mild, so if blue cheese bothers you, you'll probably like this because it's not offensive. The meatloaf is actually pretty good. It's not overly dry, which I was kind of expecting. I really do like the mushroom gravy. The mashed potatoes are the typical mashed potatoes you get here, so skin in, red potato. If you like that, you're gonna like these. The pea puree, actually kind of like it. I think it goes with the rest of the meal. Really no complaints on the meatloaf. Sadly, I remembered incorrectly, and apparently my wife did too. She actually doesn't like this chicken gravy. So we didn't find that out until after she put it on the mashed potatoes. However, the chicken is the chicken. It's really one of the best fried chickens I've had. And my wife really likes the breast, which is what she got, so she's very happy with that. Probably wishes in retrospect she'd put the bean puree on top of the mashed potatoes instead of the gravy. All right, I was wrong about the dessert. It's actually a tart, and there is raspberry creme filling and a raspberry coulis. I was right about the chocolate ganache, and the Mickey ears are definitely white chocolate, and there's a little bit of whipped cream. It's actually really good. Actually, I kind of like the desserts here, so not surprising that this is a really good dessert. All right, finishing this part of the video out. Overall, the food was decent. It's only $55 for the dining package, which if you look at some of the other dining packages, it's relatively cheap. The meal overall was pretty decent. You get a decent amount of food. Probably the most disappointing thing about the experience was the cast members. They were really slow to do anything. It took forever to get a table cleaned off. The inside was just chaotic, in which it's kind of weird for the time of the day. It's 3 o'clock, and yet there was a ton of people in there eating. And I don't know, I guess the staff just isn't used to that or something, because they were moving extremely slow. Very disappointing. I expect more from cast members. I usually don't disparage on them very much, but I am disparaging on them this time because it is actually deserved. All right, next time you're gonna hear from me, it will be in the parade area for Paint the Night. All right, I'm in the seating section for the Paint the Night parade. As you can see, it's right across from the Main Street Depot for the Disneyland Railroad. And I was wrong about the time of the parade. The parade actually starts at 8:45. And as you can see, it's currently 5 after 8, so we got about 40 minutes. They usually let people start lining up to be seated in the reserve section about 7, and then they start seating them at 8. So, and to give you a perspective, I'm actually sitting right on the curb because we were the first people to line up. now that the parade is completely over and the music stopped, we can talk about a few things. The first thing is the parade was started at 8:45. It is now 9:25. If you're at the far end of the parade route like we were, the parade doesn't arrive for about 20 minutes, and it is only about 18 minutes long. So it takes longer to get to your spot than the actual time of the parade. Having said that, for the most part, it's a really good parade. I still think the electrical parade is better. My wife is nodding or shaking her head no, we disagree then. I also like the Christmas Fantasy Parade better, but that is a seasonal parade. I would have liked if they still did the interactive thing with the paintbrushes, but apparently Disney has long ditched that. One minor thing I noticed is during the Cars part of the parade, one of the gentleman's suits was malfunctioning. It was not glowing at all, and I don't think that was I don't think that was done on purpose. I think his suit was dead. Rather than that, overall, kind of like the music. It's lively and stuff like that. I do miss the beginning where it used to be ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And I also know for a fact that at one time Zoopity Doodah was in here, and of course Disney's ditched that. Rather than that, it's really good parade. I'm happy to spend $55 per person to get a decent meal at Plaza Inn, and then to get these seats. And I only had to wait 2 hours as opposed to people across the street that were making more like 4+ hours to get their seats. And with that, I'm going to wrap this review. And like my father told me when I was 18 years old, get out.